Filipinos, food is more than just food. Aside from dining or defining our country's history, food also tells us so much about our culture and identity. And this Filipino Food Month, we take a look at the evolution of the Filipino dish and taste and how it impacts our health. And to help us understand all that, we are joined today by Clang Garcia, and she's the president of the Culinary Historians of the Philippines. Good morning.
Good morning.
Of course, we have Chef Jean Gonzalez, who is the owner of Cafe Isabel, and nutritionist and dietitian Tiffany Santuyo, who is with the faculty of Benilde School of Hotel and Restaurant and Institution Management. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A lot on our plate this morning.
Yes.
So let's start off with you, Chef. Do tell us, ano ba talaga? Pwede mo ba i-define yung panlasang Pinoy?
Panlasang Pinoy is evolving. We are bridging the gaps between the regions, and this is now the Filipino right now is looking for the identity of the cuisine, the general cuisine of the Philippines.
But is there a particular panlasa? Masasabi mong sweet, salty, is it a mixture? And when you say Filipino food, ano ba talaga yung Filipino food?
Very Southeast Asian, I would say. A balance of sweet, salty, sour. And our Scoville flavors are getting higher and higher. Every year, people tend to eat hotter in terms of chilies and all that.
Okay, and then if they say, Chef, ano ba talaga? What is a Pinoy dish for you? Top of your head.
Pinoy dish, top of my head is, well, 3 dishes come to mind. Sinigang, paksiw, and adobo. Okay,
so he mentioned sinigang, paksiw, adobo. What are the roots of that? I mean, is that something we can truly call our own, or Clang, do they have a history behind these particular dishes?
Yeah, as Chef Jean said, no, our pillars of flavors are actually sour, salty, and sweet. And once you blend that in harmony,
Masarap
you reach
yun.
a dimension of linamnam. So that defines our flavor. So, that's the one that binds us as a people. No, yung adobo actually, it's a process of marinating and cooking it in vinegar. It was just so happened that when the Spaniards discovered us, they saw a kilaw and they don't know how to call it, so they just called it adobo de aborigines.
Okay.
So it was just so happened that we have no documented wording for that, so they called it adobo.
So would you say, like, adobo, that is a dish that we can truly call ours? Hindi galing sa, sa China, or it doesn't have, it's really something that we can say we started that cuisine.
Right.
Sinigang, can we actually claim it as well, or is it pretty much similar to the Thai, the tom yum soup?
Yeah, sinigang is basically ours. Our primary pillar of flavor is sourness.
What would you say would be the biggest influence when it comes to Pinoy cuisine, and how has it evolved throughout the years? And it's still evolving, as Chef was saying.
Yeah, well, the traditional cooking process of the Filipinos are basically grilling, boiling, and then the fermentation. No? And then when Spaniards came, or the galleon trade from 1565 to 1815, that changed everything. No? Suddenly, we have different cooking techniques. You already know how to make, yung mga ginisa with the holy trinity of garlic. We didn't have that before. So as Chef Jean said, it's continuously evolving, and then we're using different ingredients now. Like from the galleon trade, we didn't have the tomatoes, we didn't have the cacao, we didn't have the chocolate. So many things that's happened.
Okay, so I'd like to ask them, our dietitian, how would you define Filipino food? Would you say that it is, or the Filipino diet, would you say it's healthy? Because Clang said maybe originally we started out grilling, boiling, and fermenting, and it has evolved to sautéing and tomatoes and a lot more. How would you describe our diet now?
Our diet, actually, our food is actually balanced. We have a little bit of starches. We have our starches. We have our meat dishes. And then there was also a time wherein there was high increase of vitamin A deficiency. That's why the DOH before, or the FNRI before, introduced the frying. That's why we have already the sauteing, and then we have the deep frying and all that, because certain vitamins are absorbed with the help of oils. So our dishes like adobo is actually also good. Also the process of making it, and the sinigang also that was mentioned earlier. Some sinigang, like sinigang na, for example, salmon, these actually are good for, it stabilizes more the omega-3. So the acid in that sinigang stabilizes more the omega-3. So it's good also for the
So
heart.
Filipino, our diet is not that bad.
Not that bad.
Parang,
Not
I
really.
think like in all diets naman, you have to pick and choose,
Yes,
diba? Ones
yes.
that are healthier than
Yeah.
the others. Chef, ano ba talaga yung typical Pinoy dish? I mean, for the day, like what would you say would be a typical Filipino meal?
Well, if we talk of Filipino meals, it's basically guisado, or basically something dry and wet. No, you have.
That
you
has
have-
to be that
you have-
combination, diba?
Yes, quite a combination. You have something wet, maybe a soup or a ginisa na gulay, and then you have something dry. The dry items could either be grilled, fried, or a dry stew like an adobo. But these are all, nakakombinasyon.
I was gonna say, I think Filipinos like the combination of the champurrado and the tuyo. I mean, we like
The
this.
contradiction of flavors.
Yes,
Sweet
yes,
and
because we have so much flavors, and then you have brought some wonderful treats. So do describe.
This is a 200-year-old recipe.
Okay, 200-year-old.
Both the Kapampangan Ensaymada and the Tocino del Cielo. This is done by our family, and I brought this out in my book. So
Okay.
I wanted to share it.
And how important is it, Klang? I'll ask you to go back. He mentioned 200 years ago. How important is it for us to find our roots and heritage? Because a lot of people are trying to get it out there, that people start to enjoy the Filipino food, like make it a typical Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese food. So how important is
it's
it
important for us? For me, the future of Filipino food is to go back into our roots, no? Because food is an expression of culture. It's an intangible cultural heritage that defines people and destination. So it gives us identity. So it's important for us to acknowledge that.
Okay, well, thank you so much for bringing us to life. We can still enjoy your ensaymada. Thank you so much, because I mean, Filipino food. I wanted even to ask you about street food and how important is that in our culture. Briefly.
Well, street
Before I let
food,
you guys go.
Street food is part of should be part of our identity, because it's something economical. It's something that will sustain. It's something that you sort of grab.
Yeah.
Yeah, and pantawid gutom, which they call.
And a lot of people, I mean, it's found everywhere. So thank you so much, of course, Chef Jean, for joining us today. And of course, Klang, for allowing us to get to know our roots better. And for our dietitian, Tiffany, we will be speaking with you a little later on the show to talk to us about what and what not to eat during the summer season, as it gets really, really hot as the days and weeks head on up.